I remember writing a piece in English class. My English teacher, he asked me what I wanted to do because I wrote a piece. It was a creative writing piece. And I said, well, I'm glad you asked. I said, I'm going to be a barber. He said, a barber? You talented, man. You could write. And I said, well, that was your dream. Respectfully, it wasn't mine.
Well, welcome in, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to our newest and latest edition of the Groom Cast. And this is actually an episode that I've been really excited about doing. When I first put together the idea on paper, one of the first names that went on paper was my man, my homie, Tyrik Jackson, somebody who I look up to and have enjoyed a friendship with over the years. So today, we plan on getting into how we met each other, how our relationship has evolved. And of course, we're going to pick his brain, get some insightful information from Tyrik. But Tyrik, I'd like to take a moment just to welcome you to the show. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Awesome. I'm excited to be here. It's an honor to be here with the GroomCAST, doing this. It's always, these interviews are always great because you just never know what you're going to get out of them.
Exactly.
And if you're mining enough, you'll find some gold, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm hoping that we can do that, find some nuggets today. But you know what? Before we go a step further, I kind of want to apologize because, I'm going to ambush you right now. And, it's a farce. Part of the reason why you're here is because the expression as it goes is give them their flowers while they're here, right? And, it's an expression alluding to the fact that sometimes we just wait too late to salute and commend people and give them the credit for what they've done. And not only a personal friend of mine, but, just even someone in the industry from my perspective, just to look at your career, what you've been involved in for decades and what you've been doing, it really is not, it's nothing fake about it. Like you are who you are as advertised. And we really do appreciate what you've done, what you've been doing for the industry and what you're presently doing today. So we wanted to kind of pause you and your career, just take a moment with you, to just talk and really just thank you for that and give you your kudos and give you your flowers, virtual, obviously, your flowers though for what you've done. Thank you, man.
Thank you. I think when you're not looking for accolades, it's hard when people give them to you. I truly feel like I'm living in my purpose and I'm just following what I believe God has positioned me to do. And whether that comes with earthly accolades or not, it does feel good to hear them. And it always catches you off guard when someone says it, I think I want to hear it from like my closest people, right? Like, my wife or my kids or even the guys that work for me. Like those are the people I want to hear it from. And you don't normally hear it from them. So I think if there's anyone that I might be looking for some sort of validation or some recognition, a lot of times it's the people close to me because those are the ones that also sacrifice with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So when you don't hear it from them, you kind of like, sometimes you could be taken back. Like, is it not enough? Am I not doing enough? Am I not doing, did I hear them? Am I recognizing what I need to do? Or maybe I need to slow down. Yeah. So sometimes when you don't hear it from the people that's closest to you, I think that's where the pain may come in. And when I say pain, I don't mean it like it really hurts. But, you're married, right? You know what it's like when, you do something, you try something, and you get oh, that was nice. And you're like, that wasn't what I was expecting from you, babe. That wasn't it. Like I thought we was gonna do something, go somewhere else with that. But
no, I get that. I understand exactly what you're saying. Exactly what you're saying, because the people that we're closest to, they get a backstage view, so to speak, and they're front row to like all of the challenges and trials, and that's not always the case for some of our friends or associates or even our peers in the industry. We don't often get a chance to do that. And that's one running theme through the podcast series we've been talking about is, we get our selected spaces that we operate in. You get our shop, we get our shop. Like, for example, you've had your barbershop, Sharper Image now for 20 years, right? Yeah. So you create a space and in that space, you thrive, you do so many things, but sometimes we don't get a chance to look up and look down a road and interact with other successful people and see what they're doing. So shows like today's show, obviously we're at the Major League Trade Show here in Philadelphia. gives us a chance to get out, rub shoulders, and kind of talk with people who walk the same walk or they're in the same shoes that we're in. So yeah, it is different getting accolades in one place and not another, but that's all right though. I really wanted to just kind of talk with you about that. So I had an interesting experience. When I met Tyrik Jackson, or you, when I met you, it was at a hair show, at a major league show. And I came out, and I think that you were educating before or after Ivan Zoot. I can't remember. And I remember going to the class because I wanted to sit through Ivan Zoot's class. And you came on either before or after. And I just remember walking away feeling like, man, that was great. Like, it was completely unexpected. You gave out some digital information. You gave out some things that were really valuable to me. I went back to my shop and I implemented it. And I was like, that was great. And I think a few years went by. Next thing I know, we both got invited out to LA for Clubman. They were vetting and looking for some educators. We landed in the same pool, and we found ourselves in a week-long class session. And by the time the end of the class was over, we figured out that we were definitely kindred there in a lot of our thinking and our approach to what we were doing. But I think that sometimes when people see you, right, they see your Instagram, they see what you're involved in, I think it can look and come off as if it's so polished that it's almost staged. That's almost like Tyrik has, what does he curated? But I'm telling you, and for those who are listening, we work together. We've been in cities together. I've seen you in your element, how you produce content, how you engage with people, and man, it's you. Yeah. Like, it's nothing fake about it. Like, it's completely organic. It's just who you are. I've seen you, early in the morning before we've had the coffee and we had to hit the show, to at the end of the show, and I'm like, man, he is as advertised. And I thought, like, to myself, wow, you have a really polished version of who you are. And that's what I aspire to. That's what I took from you. Like, wow, he has a system and a manner of operation that is efficient, and it's him. And I'm like, I got to do that. And again, just celebrating you, I think that that's something that is to be desired by a lot of barbers and stylists. We're all looking to have a refined, polished version of ourselves. And I think that you've executed that. You've done that.
Thank you. Interesting thing is that I don't stage any of it. As you mentioned, I don't, when we're at the school and we're recording, I just press record. I'm just documenting the journey, Yep. My mom told me when I was young, if you was going to be a bum, you better be the best bum. And I remember when she first said that to me, and she told me that, I was a little hurt, like my feelings was hurt. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to be no bum, But I took that, right? And anything that I've involved myself with, I want to give who I am all the time, because I don't want, in today's world, it's easy to have a Snapchat filtered life. It's easy to put a mask on and put this facade of who you are. And if anyone has ever watched my Tyrik Talk Tuesdays, I've cried on there. I've shared personal stuff with my family, my background, upbringing, how difficult it has been to grow in business. Yeah. Just the different challenges. And I've been very transparent.
Super transparent. I love that. In fact, shameless plug. What's your Instagram again?
I am Tyrik Jackson.
All right, so I am Tyrik Jackson.
My name is spelled, yeah.
If you're not following him already, you're definitely missing out on something. And he has a segment he just referred to, Tyrik Tuesdays. Yeah. And it's a great segment. It's early. It starts, 9:30?
Every Tuesday morning, 9:30 a.m. Yeah, Tyrik Talks Tuesday.
Yeah, Tyrik Talks Tuesday. It's great, but very inspirational. Like you said, he's been full disclosure. You've opened up about a lot of different things there. Yeah,
it's one thing to present yourself one way, and you kind of learn that in school, right? Style shifting. You can be whoever you are, but when you go for a job interview, you sit up, you wear the right outfit. So you kind of learn that, and I understand the importance of that. If you're in a board meeting or you're meeting with the right company, you want to present yourself well. Like when we went to Clubman, we seen some of the guys that didn't represent themselves well, I saw that. And then you saw the handful of people that they were there for business, because we knew better. I just try to be myself in every area of my life, so that way when I meet people for the first time and they see me, they're like, you're exactly what I thought you were. It's like I don't have to act. It's not an act. I'm just being myself, and for the most part, if the camera's rolling and I said it, I said it,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. You have been transparent. That's good. I think we need that. We need more of that. And really, a lot of this podcast series, that's what it's about. I think that, what are they called now? Gen Z.
I lost
millennials.
Track.
I don't know what we are
track.
and where we're at in the scope of things, but sometimes people come into the industry and they feel like overnight success. Overnight, I got it all figured out. There's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes. There's been uncountable hours and uncountable sacrifices. And I'm certain, and I know for a fact, that your whole career has not just been highlights of great moments, right? There's been some challenges along
Absolutely.
the way. Would you care to share some of those challenges that you've had throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the industry for over 30 years. One of the very first setbacks was my mom wouldn't let me cut hair at home. My cousins was hustling and I was a good kid. I went to school, I tried to get good grades, do what I had to do. And when I came home with the idea of wanting to cut hair, my mom was like, you can't cut hair in my house because I want nobody in my house, right? This is my house.
Yeah.
And I tried negotiating that as much as I could from the living room, at the front door, my bedroom. All of it was a no-no. I didn't think about the basement or suggest it because we had a flood. There was a pipe every day. It was just water would fill up from the city water would come in. And it wasn't like sewage water. It was just water from somewhere we didn't know. So I didn't think of the basement, but eventually I said, hey, what if I did it in the basement? She said, I don't care, but you're going to have to clean it up. So I sacrificed, I cleaned it up. And I remember daily going in and having to squeegee the water out the basement so that way I wasn't standing on water. And I remember one morning I got up a little late cutting the kids in the neighborhood. And I was literally standing in just like a little pool of water, like just splashing everywhere I went. So then the hair was stuck to it. It was a mess.
Yeah, see, it's not always pretty, right?
That's the first setback that I remember. But when I wanted to become a barber, there was no barber schools, right? So I had to go to cosmetology school.
Yeah.
So I had to roll old ladies' hair, in perms, and I had to paint toenails and I didn't want to do that. But in order to get a professional license to cut hair, that was the only option I had at the time. Mm-hmm. And then while I was in school, the state of PA had offered apprenticeship as a barber. So I was still in school and I did apprenticeship as a barber. And so I did them at the same time.
So high school?
No, I was fresh out of high school.
Fresh out of high school.
Interesting.
In school, and you did an apprenticeship.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So the interesting thing is, you talk about another setback. So I remember writing a piece in English class, and my English teacher, his name was Nate Gadsden. He asked me what I wanted to do because I wrote a piece. It was a creative writing piece. And when I wrote it, he said, how come I don't get this much effort in class from you all the time? He says, you're a good writer, man. He said, let me ask you a question. What do you want to do with your life when you grow up? When you get out of here, what are you going to do? What's next? Yeah. And I said, well, I'm glad you asked. I said, when I graduate from here, I'm going to go to Lancaster School of Cosmetology. I'm going to go work at Champ Hall's barbershop, and I'm going to be a barber. He said, a barber? Why you? He said, you talented, man. You can write. He said, I write for the newspaper and I'm an English teacher here. I'm getting paid, And I said, well, that was your dream. Respectfully, it wasn't mine. He said, well, you could do better than that. Yeah. And I said, oh, well, just, watch me. So every day I went in, I said, you going to let me shape you up? And he's like, nope, he didn't have no hairline in the front. I mean, his stuff was just all natural. So I asked him, over the semester, and he said, no. He said, my son's in college. He's going to school right now. And I'm like, okay, well, listen, you're not going to convince me. This is what I have set my mind up to do, and this is what I'm going to do. So I graduated from high school, went to cosmetology school. I did that. And while I was in cosmetology school, the newspaper found out that it was a mother and son duo who went to school together. I went to school with my mom in cosmetology.
Wow, that's crazy.
So how that happened was when she went to fill out the FAFSA form, she kind of like whispered, like, man, I always wanted to do this. And the lady said, excuse me. She said, I always wanted to do this too. And so then she signed us up together. My mom said, hey, I signed your information for you to go to school.
Man, that's great.
You're going to go to school. We started in September, so I had the summer off right after high school. And she goes, so when you graduate in the summertime, September, we're going to start. That's when the next class starts and we're going to go together. I'm like, oh.
I'm in school with my mom.
Yeah, I'm in school with my mom. Right. Like, this is not it, So, I kind of laid down some ground rules. I'm like, look, Mom, let me be myself. I don't want to be in the classroom and have to worry about Mom hovering over me because I say something that she doesn't like, or, I just want to be me.
You can't let your hair down. Your mom
I just want to be me. Let me be myself, and she said, okay. I said, so you won't gotta let nobody know you're my mom and all that. You stay on your side, I'll be on my side. We were in the same class together. Wow. So very first day of school, I'm in class and, I did my first 0 degree haircut with shears. I ain't never did that before. So this was new to me. I'm blow drying and styling the mannequin. I'm excited, I'm like, man. And so when step back, I look at my mannequin. I'm like, hey, Mom.
You let the cat out the bag.
I did. All the blow dryers turned off. The shears went down. It was so quiet in the room. And I felt the heat on the back of my neck from everybody looking at me.
Yep.
My mom walks across the room and she whispers, she says, you done messed up, right? And I was like,
don't blame me. You did that.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't want anybody in the school to know. But because everybody in the school knew, then a newspaper came in and did an article. Yeah. And when they did the article, they asked a question. They said, how do you feel about being a kid, a male, young man in a school full of women? Like, it's a little taboo. And we're talking about 1995, 96. That was taboo, right?
What school was this?
So it was Lancaster School of Cosmetology.
Lancaster School of Cosmetology.
Yeah, so Carol Michike was the owner at the time. She was like, no, we like this kid. He has dreams. He has goals. And so when they asked me, I'm like, I'm getting ready to answer the question to the reporter, and my mom goes, well, no, he's in touch with his masculinity. And I'm like,
yeah, thanks for not making it worse.
Like, this is not it. This is not what I asked for, I'm like, this is exactly why I
didn't want to
exactly.
be here with you.
So anyway, I said, I can answer for myself.
Yeah.
I said, I don't care. My answer was simply, I don't care what people think. I just want to cut hair. And if this is the only path that I could take in order for me to get my license, this is what I'm going to do. They asked me another question that was really important and just naive, ambitious, driven in the moment. I just uttered something that sort of happened in that moment. They said, well, the other thing was, I said, well, when I graduate from here, I'm going to go work at Champs. I'm going to get my manager's license. I'm going to become a licensed barber. I'm going to get my teacher's license and possibly open a school one day.
Boom.
And so
you locked it in.
That was it. Yep. Yeah, I spoke it into universe. But not only did I speak it, it was documented.
Yeah.
Right? There was some documented proof.
Black and white.
It went in the newspaper.
95, 96.
Oh, yeah.
The newspaper was the first Google, internet. Yeah. Like, if it was on a printed page.
It was it.
It was happening.
It was called Mother and Son Make Career Cut Together. I still have the article.
Wow.
And it was that statement that kind of pushed me, because I went to Champs. I worked for Champ. I did get my manager's license. I did get my teacher's license. I opened my first location.
Checking boxes.
I was checking boxes.
Yeah.
The school was still so far away. Financially, I didn't know how it was going to happen. Right? As a kid, 18 years old, if you'd have told me to own a school is going to cost you this much to start, and you'll probably take operating expenses be 50 grand a month. I probably at 18 years old said, nope, that's not what I want to do. It would have killed my dream.
Yeah.
But I didn't know all those little details, right? So it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I really just was like, hey, I'm just going to do this thing. And so in 2013, we opened up Premier Barber Institute. 20 years later.
So Premier Barber Institute.
Yeah.
I've been there before. It's an amazing place. I highly recommend it. It's a great experience. I've hired students coming from the school. And I tell you what, like the expression goes, like necessity is the mother of invention, right? So the area your school is that's considered Conshohocken, is it?
So it's right outside of Conshohocken. Okay. We're in Norristown, but we're like 25 minutes from Philly. We picked that location because centrally located from all surrounding areas. You got Pottstown, you got Chester, you got Westchester. You still have parts of Jersey. We had students from Jersey. We had students move from California, move to Jersey to come to school. Wow. We had students move from Boston to Delaware, Virginia, Atlanta, move to come to Premier.
That's exactly what I wanted to segue into, because you saw a need there in your immediate community. And, you're talking about 94, 95, 96. That time frame, I remember it only really being like 2 barber schools in a region. I went to Tri-City Barber School in
Which one? The one in Philly? Okay.
Yep, on Nedro Ave. And I know there was another one that was in I want to say Conshohocken, I'm not sure.
There was one in Norristown.
Norristown? Okay, yeah. But so different from now. You know, the landscape has changed. There's a lot of different opportunities. Not all schools are created equal. I will say that. But the industry of barbering has really changed. When we came up in the early 90s, we didn't get the same respect or allure that other parts of the industry got. Cosmetologists.
Yeah, we were like the armpit of the industry.
Yes, we were. Yeah. You know, you would go to the trade shows. There wasn't much to see.
One booth.
You walk over and buy the same clipper you could get at the corner store. Yeah. So now, you know, to come full circle and to see those opportunities, you're talking about young men moving to your school. And that's not because there's not schools in their area. Right. They're moving to your school because of the product and what you guys are offering there. And I think that, you know, now that I'm listening to you, getting that backstory, I think that, you know, you say you've spoken into existence, but I think that you identified a deficiency there and you wanted to problem solve that problem for
absolutely. The interesting thing is that I live in Lancaster County. So I live an hour and 15 minutes away from my school.
From the school?
From my school.
Wow.
And I'm 25 minutes from Philadelphia, right? The school is. So, you know, for the past 10 years, I've been driving back and forth on that road. I mean, I got a 22, my car's a 22, and it's got 56,000 miles on it.
Oh, man.
Right, we're in 23.
Yes. You retiring cars.
So
early.
You know, and I mean that's the amount of miles that I'm driving because I'm committed to the cause.
Yeah, passionate.
You know, and I've been doing it for 10 years. Yeah. You know, I've probably been through 4 cars since I've been there. Yeah. In the past 10 years. You know, that's not common for most people to be turning over cars that quick.
That quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, I'm just committed.
But it shows
an
investment, a passion. You know, a commitment for what you're doing. And again, I think it's great. I think, and it pays off. I know that you have to have a sense of validation when you see the products come from the school, enter into the field, create careers, open barbershops of their own.
Yeah, it's currently we have over 32 owners that have graduated from our program. I would say 90% of those owners didn't wish to be owners when they first started at the school.
Yeah.
Right. Because we do a Shark Tank at the school and we ask them, hey, show us your business idea, let us know how. And I don't want to own a shop. I just want, and you know, life happens. They get either married or they have a child or they want to grow up, right? And they end up opening a business.
That wasn't such a bad idea.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad idea, right? So when a student comes to us at Premier, we don't look at them as a customer, right? That's a material. You are something that I can work with, right? And so the objective for the instructors is to take that material, mold it into a product. The customer, the client for us is the shop owner. Okay. Because if we put a good product out there and a shop owner is happy with that student, I need 2 more of them. I'm expanding my business.
Exactly.
I need to hire, I got a different business model over here. Do you have a client or a barber that fits my demographic for what I'm doing over here? And so it's important because, you know, we have different students from all walks of life. When you come to our school, you see the world we live in. Mm-hmm. You know, you see it in our program just through the community of students that we have.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. Like, you know, I'm also involved in like some mentorship and coaching of of barbers in the industry. Some, you know, experienced, some newer. And I think that to be a good educator, teacher, or to have a school that can produce a product like that, you're teaching them more than just a skill of, you know, how to do a 0-degree fade. Mm-hmm. You know, you're teaching them despite the challenges that they have, right? So you have people of different backgrounds, different education levels, different challenges. And it's like in a lot of ways, you have to solve the problems or help them with the challenges that they're having before you could get to the root of what they're doing.
The haircutting is a tool. In reality, we're changing people's lives, right? We had a guy who was a convicted murderer come to our program. He was in jail for 28 years, right? You know, at 13 years old. Ironically, I knew him when I was a kid. He used to come to my house for Bible study. So when he walked in the door, I didn't recognize him and he didn't recognize me. Yeah. But it just speaks the volume of, and full circle. I knew him as a kid, right? You didn't want me to help teach you then at 13? Yeah. Guess what? You got me now, right?
No. So, back at it again.
So back at it again. And he's doing great. He's opened 3 shops since then.
Look at that.
He was recognized at Jay Major's event for Entrepreneur of the Year or Up and Coming Barber of the Year, I believe it was. Yeah. And I mean, he's just made tremendous strides. His story is amazing, but Premier offers an opportunity for people to have a second chance at life, right? Yeah. And whether you're a single mom or you're a guy that had a bunch of felonies and nobody want to hire you, if you're passionate about a cutting hair or you think this is just a last resort for you and you commit to it, we can help change that life for you, you know? Yeah. So it's what we do, you know, in our career, you know, in the industry, barbering, it's really changed a lot of people's lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's hard to not recognize the fact that the school is going to be a reflection of you, right? And I think that, you know, you put your heart and soul into what you do. And then at the end of the day, your product that you're producing, now it has a little bit of you stamped on each one of them. Yeah, and that's great, man. We really appreciate that. You know, I saw, I think it was last year that you were nominated for Educator of the Year. Yeah, with some other good educators as well, Josh LaMonica, yourself. You know, I was proud. That was a proud moment. Like my chest went out a little further. It was like, you know, I know some pretty cool people out here, you know, doing some things, but you know, I thought, you know, it made me just take a step back and just really think, said, man, I had the opportunity to know him, have his cell number on my phone. I could get him on a phone at any time. I know him pretty well, but it made me say to myself, like, wow, like he's really doing those things. Like that's really, it's inspirational to see that. And so for me as a seasoned barber who's also has 30 years in the industry, you're one of a few people that I think about when I think about diversifying who I am in the barber industry. You know, we're more than just a barber behind the chair. I'm sure you probably have some time you dedicate still to being in the shop or putting some time behind the chair. But what has that meant for you, stepping away and finding value in other avenues within the industry?
So it's interesting you say that. So it's not so much that I found value in other things. I think more so I've brought value to other things. I mean, I just kind of look at it that way. Yeah. Right. And, you know, some people say Kanye crazy for looking at himself like he's a god. But, you know, are we supposed to look down on ourselves? Right. I know what I bring. I know what I offer. And so when I look into things, I look at what value can I add to this? I came into the industry. I'm talking about like not just barbering itself, but like the global side of the industry. In 2003, 2004, when I went into Bronner Brothers, I competed in 2006, won $25,000 doing 3 haircuts in 15 minutes, right? And I turned it down 3 times. I didn't want to do the competition. Okay. Because I wanted to educate. I wanted to know what value can I bring to the industry. And I told Erica Washington at the time, I'm like, look, I don't want to compete. You know, and she's like, well, you know, what you do is different than what we've seen, and we want the world to see it. And I didn't really look at it that way. I was looking at it like it's a competition. I don't want to compete. Yeah. Right. If what I offer to the world brings value, then I'm all for it. She said, I'll tell you what, Tyrik, if you compete in my competition, regardless of what happens, I will let you teach. Okay. At least for the year. I said, I'm in. Yeah. Right. I'm in that because I know that I'm much more than just somebody who cuts hair. Yeah. Right. I'm much more than just standing behind a chair. I'm much more than a school owner. Right. And sometimes I think people, they feel validation in their accomplishments. Right. I don't look at it that way. The shop exists because I created that. Right. God has given me ability. He's given me gifts. The shop exists because I created that shop. We've been here 20 years. I had another shop for 16 years. Closed it down 2019. It was a business decision to do, and I was very happy with making that decision. I consolidated and expanded my first location that we still have for over 20 years now. Opening the school. The school exists because I created it, right? So I'm not Tyrik Jackson because, he got a school or he drives this or he has a barbershop. No, I'm Tyrik Jackson first. Right. Right? Tyrik Jackson has created those things and is bringing value to the city, is bringing value to the community, is bringing value to the people who walk in those doors. Yes. So that's how I've always viewed it. And, you know, not everyone gets that, right? I don't walk around, you know,
you don't
with the big head, you know,
I observed it. And again, my first time really getting a chance to network with you and educate along with you, I observed that. And I think that we both came to the conclusion, you know, out of a week-long course, and we got to spend time together, and we were able to have dinner together and eat and learn together during the day. I observed that, and again, like those are some of the things that I'm alluding to. Here is a multi-million-dollar organization who is looking for educators, and I literally saw you by the end of the program say, "Hey, listen, here's my value, and if this is what you want, here's what I can offer. But I'm not here to give you what you're looking for." I saw that, and it made me just say,
Yeah,
okay. I said, okay, well, look, I'm here. I'm going to take the job. I'm going to take the job. But what it did, though, is it put you at a different perspective for that company, and it made them respect you on a different level.
Yeah, for the listeners out there, what one of the things he's referring to, he kind of like jumped right over it. So there was a couple people who were like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, we know you can teach. And I remember saying to them, I'm not here. They're like, but I mean, we don't have a chance. Some people did.
Yeah.
I don't believe you felt that way, right? You had already brought so much value. You were already working with them for a little bit. That's not why I was there. I will tell you why I believe I was purposed to be there.
Okay.
Right? I was invited, and one, I like to learn. So I was like, I'm always in the front teaching.
Yeah.
It's great to take the back seat and learn, right? And I learned a lot of stuff. But there was one person in particular. So I took Sean Anthony with me because he was like my mentee at the time. Really, he became a brother and a really close friend now. But at the time, he was like my mentee. He was like a project for me. Like, I know you want this. I'm going to help you get there. I'm going to knock on some doors for you. Let's get you there. So it was more, at first, a support system for him. But I don't believe I was there for him. That's what I thought I was there for.
Okay.
I was there for Richie.
Yeah, Richie. That's my guy, man. I love Richie, man.
So the story with Richie is, Richie was a barber that his hand was dismembered from playing with fireworks. Yeah. And I didn't know him. I met him for the first time at the meet and greet. So I extended to shake his hand, and he gave me his left hand. And at first I was like, well, that's kind of rude, but I was like, all right. Yeah. So I just kept observing. And I noticed that he kept his thumb out and his hand in his pocket. So you always saw his thumb, but you didn't see his hand. So I'm just observing, I'm paying attention, I'm watching the room, right? And when he got up to speak, he was very awkward with what he was doing.
Yep.
And so after the first time that we had to present, I pulled him to the side and I said, Richie, I want to talk to you for a second. He goes, what's up? I said, let me see your hand.
Yeah.
And he just immediately, he turned red a little bit. I said, no, let me see your hand. And he showed me his hand. And I said, tell me your story. What happened? He said, I've been a barber for a while. I was playing with fireworks, blew my hand off. I had to learn how to work with my left hand, right? And I'm like, okay.
I remember your reaction to finding that out about him.
So I said to him in that moment, I said, that's your goal, my man. And he looked at me. I said, you're trying to conceal it and hide it so much.
Put it out there.
You need to share it, because what's happening is every single time you go to do something, it just looks really awkward and people are trying to figure it. Just tell the story. Open up. Hey, my name's Richie. I've been a barber for X amount of years. I want to show you my hand real quick. I blew my hand up and blah, blah, blah. And then tell the story. Just give them three minutes of it, right? And tell them why you're so confident about working with this company, right? You had to learn how to work with your left hand, and now you're using these products, and these products help you. I said, and that's what you need to do. And I'll tell you what, that day he came and he told the story in front of everybody, there wasn't a dry eye in the room.
It wasn't.
Everybody stood up. And I believe that that's why I was supposed to be there. Yeah. It wasn't to get the job. It wasn't, yes, of course, to help Sean Anthony and just kind of learn some things. But I truly believe that I was purposed to be there to talk to Richie and tell him, you have something here. This is how it needs to be told, because you're not really getting it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And we're slinging some names around here. With Sean Anthony, a good friend of mine too. He teaches with us at the Education Collective. And Richie, man, just an amazing story. And by the way, guys, you guys are listening in. Richie is a very good barber. He taught himself how to cut with his other hand. He's made special attachments for his tools that he works with, and he is dynamite. Like when I say he's a great barber, Richie's a great barber. Funny backstory to that. One day Richie texts me out of nowhere and sends me a picture. And it was one of the first out-of-state classes that I did. I was an educator, I was a judge for a major league show that was in New York City. And I'm there, Jay Majors is judging with me, a good friend of mine, Eric Wright, we're judging. And Richie sends me a picture of me holding a clipboard looking at him while he's cutting hair before he had the accident.
Wow.
And it drew back memories, and I'm like, man, that guy was so good, right? And I didn't make the connection that was him years later at Clubman. And then years after Clubman, he sends me the picture, and it just came full circle. I'm like, man, that is crazy. So to see how good he was prior to the accident, how good he was after the accident was like, yeah, that's inspiration.
Because he was a new barber all over.
Yep.
With just experience.
He had to teach himself.
And I think for some of the young barber, when I say young barber, I don't mean age. Because at our school, we have people that are in their 30s. We got a guy just graduated. He's 52 years old. He got his license in 28 days. I mean, that's a record for us, 28 days. But he was a baby in the barbering. You know, he's a seasoned person, right? But he came to the program, and what he has is life experience, right? And so although Richie had to relearn how to cut with his left hand, he had so much understanding and knowledge. He just had to relearn new muscles, new mechanics. But he didn't have to be taught the stuff.
No, he didn't have to start at zero.
Yeah.
He started, he
may have felt like it. Right. And a lot of people do. They come in the industry like, oh, I'm too old to start now.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, why start all over now? And, you know, you're not too old.
No, you're not. You're not. And I love that. It's very inspirational to me. Again, I graduated barber school in 1995. I normally only count my professional years. So next year will be like 29 years for me. But I have been cutting hair since the 11th grade in high school. So this is like my 30th year now.
Yeah, we the same.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So
I think I got my license 26, 96 though.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, to just know and see where the industry has shifted and how it's changed and the opportunities that are there, it's very inspirational. And I think that for people who've been involved as long as we have, you do have to find your motivations, right? I think about somebody like Michael Jordan, right? He would look for inspiration out of nowhere. You know, he would lie and say, that guy doesn't like me, right, just so he could go out and muster up the energy to give you 45 points tonight. And sometimes that's what it is. We have to look at what we're doing and look in our life and our career and what's happening and find those motivating points, right?
I think the motivation does help to sort of catapult it, but I think the discipline and the dedication is what really takes for longevity. You know, because you could be excited. Like, I mean, if you've ever worked out and went to the gym, you'd be motivated and then you're not motivated and you don't go, right? But if you're dedicated to your body looking and feeling a certain way, doesn't matter how you feel. The motivation may not be there in the moment. And I think a lot of people give up too early because they're so motivationally driven, right? That they're not dedicated to their better self.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I'll make sure I get to the gym tomorrow.
But I think a lot of people aren't dedicated to their better self.
Yeah.
You know, when I was 18, I mean, when I was in English class, I told my English teacher that I was going to go to cosmetology school. I was going to work for Champ. I was going to get my barber license. I told him that, right? And I stuck to that. And that was in 93. 2005, I hired my English teacher's graduate son from college.
Wow.
He became a barber and worked for me for 8 years.
Yeah, that English professor, he's my Mr. Norman.
Okay.
I went to Martin Luther King High School in 1993. I graduated. But those 4 years while in high school, Mr. Norman taught me carpentry. It was a vocational high school at the time. And I was really good at carpentry.
Yeah,
I just had a great, I had a great hand. I was super good at it. And in my 12th grade year, Mr. Norman was like, hey, here's the schools that you can go to, you can apply to. You're one of my most exceptional students. And I was like, I want to be a barber, Mr. Norman. Mr. Norman was an older African-American gentleman.
You took the air right out of it.
He looked at me. He looked at the class. And in time, the class was acting up and acting a fool.
Of course.
They was doing everything they shouldn't have did. He looked at them. He looked at me. And he said, I can't say what he said, but he said, you want to go cut their hair? And I was like,
insert.
Love it. Yeah, but I was like, but I love it. And he was like, he just looked at me and shook his head because he was pulling strings to get me into a school that he really was closely associated with. Because you were one of his top dogs. But I wasn't passionate about it. Yeah. You know, I was more passionate about cutting hair. So.
It goes back to my mom said, you want to be a bum and be the best bum. So So it's interesting. He said I should have been a writer. I'm a columnist for Barber Evo magazine, right? So I still write, but I didn't go to college to write. And I hired his son, who went to college to be, he was a Spanish teacher, right? So his son hated the job out in the profession as a teacher. He had aspirations to become a principal, maybe a dean of students at some point, but he came to the barbering game as an apprentice of mine because there were no schools at the time around. And I ended up hiring him. I trained him. He worked for me for 8 years. When Mr. Jackson came into the shop, he came into the barber shop. He said, "Hey, I want to make an announcement. This young man right here was the only student I ever had that said what he was going to do and did everything he said he was going to do." I said, "You know what, Mr. Jackson? I hired your son in the process."
Oh, man.
And he said, "Yes, you did. Yes, you did." I said, "And you told me that barbering wasn't good enough." Yep. He said, "I just didn't know that, I just didn't know all the, I'm like, I know. And I said, I think I made the right decision for myself.
Well, listen, man, that's full circle for sure. Before we wrap this up, I kind of just want to put you on the spot again and just ask you something. We got listeners here of varying degrees of, skill. Various time in the industry, some just getting started, some many years. Like you and I, we face challenges through our career. There were things, I have some very dark days to my career that I really don't like to reflect on, and I know what it took to get through that, right? So what could you give the audience? What motivation or what encouragement could you give them to perhaps see that person through some challenging times to make sure that they stay focused on the big picture?
So, it might be a long answer to get out what I'm trying to, the message I'm trying to convey.
It's all right, Tyrik it, man.
Tyrik it. Listen, you're going to have challenges. You have to be patient, number one, with the journey, right? You have to exercise patience. And in today's world, in today's climate, it's really, really hard to have patience because everything is instant. I want to post. If I don't get the amount of likes I want, I delete it, right? Or I'll take 30 pictures and I look at them, and the day I took them, I loved them, but the next day I go to post them, I'm like, I don't like this. And I think what happens is a lot of people, because of social media, it's an amazing tool if you know how to use it, you know how to work it, but if the tool's working you, then there's a problem. What happens is we all sort of judge other people's work. You go on, you look at it, and if you like it, you double tap. If you don't like it, you scroll, right? So you just made a judgment, right? And sometimes you might like something and you might know that person or whatever. You're like, that's good. That's my man. Yeah, he's doing good. And you just but you're constantly casting judgment on other people's stuff.
All right.
So where that hurts you is you begin to judge yourself. And because you're not meeting the bar of the people that you've judged, you don't post. You don't comment. You don't like. You don't do the thing because you've been putting so much judgment on everybody else's work that you begin to look at yourself and do a self-examination, and your work just doesn't measure up. It doesn't match up. Los Cut It, I think he right now is probably one of the, kind of remind me of myself back in the day as the colorist and the barber stylist, right? Because I was a hybrid barber with the Kazan barbering. So he has that element. And, back then I was one of the guys that was doing color. When I look at his stuff and I see his video, I know what it takes to do video production and create content. And I'm looking at a 30-second reel or a minute reel, and I'm like, this is amazing work, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm telling my students, that takes an hour, that takes 2 hours, that takes 3 hours. He went on the video and recently was on the podcast. First, he made a statement. He says, you seen that video? That took me 4.5 hours to do. To do for that 1 30-second clip. And then he said on a podcast, he said that was a 3-day production.
There you go.
Right? And so there's 3 days to prep to create that piece of content. So many people are casting judgment on other people's work. And when your work doesn't measure up, you're not the person that's recording for 3 days. You're not doing a 3-day production. You're not doing a 3-hour piece. You're trying to cut that person so you can make some money and create some content at the same time. Right. So you're not doing all the cinematography and you're not doing all the special effects and the ambient lighting and just going back in. And most of his work, he's not even speaking on it. It's just,
that's
you know
true.
what I mean? It's
that's
just,
true.
Imagine when you're speaking and you got to edit yourself talking and cut out the ums and the uhs, and it's a lot of work. And I think for most of the guys, regardless of your skill level, whether you're entry level barber, a barber in school, a seasoned professional, maybe retired from another career and taking barbering on for the first time, or maybe entry level into the industry, you graduated from school and you're looking for the right shop to go to. I would tell you that you have to be patient with your journey because it's not going to happen overnight. I said at 18 I wanted to open up a school. It didn't happen until 20 years later.
Yeah.
I told my English teacher in 1993 I was going to go to cosmetology school. 3 years later, a lot could happen in 3 years that would have derailed that dream.
True.
Right? But I did it because I was dedicated to the future Tyrik Jackson.
Yeah.
Not the current Tyrik Jackson. Not the Tyrik Jackson that I'm striving to be and looking for those results tomorrow. I was dedicated to the future Tyrik Jackson. Yeah. And so I would tell you, if you're that person, you have to be patient with your journey and be dedicated to the future self.
Yeah, I love that. Being patient, that's a great quality to manifest patience and being dedicated to your journey. Yeah. Having that vision of what you want to do and sticking to it and being patient. Yeah, that's true. Because it doesn't happen overnight. That's a great example where Los cut it, because that's true. We make it look easy, but there's a lot of. You
mentioned that about me. You're like, Tyrik, they look at your stuff and it looks like it's not
easy. I've seen you do it.
I've been doing it for so long. It just pull the camera out and go.
Yep.
I came in today, put the camera, I'm ready to go. All systems go. And it's just whatever happens, and we're just documenting the journey along the way.
There you go. Well, listen, man, I want to thank you very much. Again, finishing where we started at. I just wanted to really give you a moment to acknowledge the work that you've done, the impact that you've had on so many people through this industry, and it has really been appreciated. You have had a hand in mentoring, supporting, and helping so many, and we need to see more of that. And I love the fact that you've spearheaded that, and this is who you are. You've taken that mission on, and you are executing exactly what you wanted to do. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We appreciate being a recipient. If you haven't done already, tune in. Tyrik Talks Tuesdays.
Yep.
9:30 on Tuesday. It's a great listen.
Eastern time.
Yeah, Eastern time. And he does also interact too. So don't be afraid to share it. Send it to some people, and have some discussions maybe in your shop or with other industry friends that you might have. So thank you very much, Tyrik. Thanks for being with us. We'd like to thank our listeners for supporting us and tuning in and staying connected with the GroomCAST. So this is our episode featuring Tyrik Jackson. Tyrik, one more time, they can find you where at?
On Instagram, all my social media handles, I am TYRIK JACKSON. Everything you'll find is on there. That handle is, every time something opens up, I get it because I don't want to lose it, right?
Yeah, that means you can catch them on the brand.
Right? Thank you guys for just having me on GroomCast. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks for being connected with the GroomCast.